almost like denser or coarser. And I never got to ask you about that. Is that normal for certain parts to almost be like coarser fiber than other parts?
So when you have a fleece, so overall, and you're shearing, the belly wool, of course, gets put to the side. And then when you shear the entire fleece, it's a pattern in which, and this past weekend for the event, I laid out the fleece and I left it there so people could see. And my analogy is always, which is not the best analogy, if you think about a bearskin rug, just because I feel like that's what people think about, right?
Yeah.
So that's what it looks like. But of course, there's no hide attached to it. So when you lay it out, the fleece is different along the legs, along the belly, and then again, the legs, and then you work your way
Like the
back
whole
around.
outer edge.
Yeah. So, and the center is really all that is utilized for what should be, yarn material or whatever material. So it just depends. But it's interesting that you will say, so you've got Nola and Nora, which are clearly sisters, same mother, same father. So I have Jack and Jill on my farm. They are brother and sister. Um, but for all I know, where I got them from, they are same mother, same father. Like they were twins, Jack and Jill, but they have to be fraternal twins. So that's the other thing too, that I don't think a conversation is ever really had, because when you look at the two of them together, they actually look like two different sheep. But I'm like, I know they
Yeah.
came from the same farm. I was told they were twins. They were both bottle babies. So it's so interesting in that sense. But I think that those,
People.
again, are
Yeah.
conversations that people don't talk about. So
Yeah. No, I mean, you were saying, the belly roll and like all those other edges that were a lot coarser, and just you could even tell it was just different, or even like where you could tell that's the belly because it was rubbing against the ground from them laying down and stuff. So that always all gets skirted out, but it was just interesting feeling. It definitely felt coarser than the rest of the bat. I forgot the actual name of the parts.
yeah.
Um,
And different colors are definitely different fiber characteristics. So, at least in my experience,
okay,
gray, like, so like gray hairs are generally coarser. Like there's certain colors that are coarser than others too. And when we think about it
interesting.
in terms of people, we're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But when
Yeah.
you think about it, at least in terms of shearing llamas, because that's what I'm more familiar with than sheep, it actually applies, or even with alpacas. So, there's a lot that goes into not only nutrition, not only genetics, not only color, but all of that applied. And then again, there is a way to test your fiber content, so your micron count
Mhm.
of your fibers. But do you want to spend that money to be able to test it? So it's always interesting how people can evaluate based on hand or feel, is what we call it, because most people are not uh, financially, genetically having their fiber tested from year to year, like maybe they did in the past. So I think it depends.
Yeah. Um, which we'll call it. The other thing that I had noticed too was even just the structure besides the crimp. Um, the Nola, the white one, her staple length also seemed to be a tiny bit longer. Hers was almost on the border of 5 to 6 inches, where Nora was closer to like the 4 inch, pretty much straight across the whole board. Um, is that something that you also see a difference with too, with the different colors, where say like one color will grow a little bit longer than the other one?
Yeah, and for sure. And that's what I was going to ask you, because in terms of staple length, also that can differ, from not only breed, not only siblings. So I've seen it all over the board. So I will say I probably don't have a better assessment in terms of like color and staple length. versus the coarseness that I'm talking about.
Okay.
But it is interesting to hear that because here's the thing, once I get into my season, I am just so like trying to get the job done. And so, what I love about this collaboration is like I've sheared Nola and Nora every year for as long as I can imagine. Have I ever stopped to get the weight of their fleeces or evaluate their staple length or know if there's any difference between the two of them? Like, no, because I just have them and I have them in my arms and I just know them as who they are as a sheep. So that's what's really cool about this is to then not only take like who they are as a sheep, but then look at what it is further from there. And sometimes I feel guilty. Like I have all these fleeces that I take off like every year, every day. But part of this also is selfishly motivated for people to understand the whole process. And when you're the shearer, like especially right now, and we're in May and we're, like thankfully it was still
Right
breezy
in the thick
cool
of it.
today. Yeah, like I'm in the thick of it. The minute it's not now because it's raining, it just keeps raining every day I turn around. The minute we get like 3 days of 80-degree temps, that's it. Like the world is over. So I don't have a chance to evaluate things. And that's why I love this so much. And even if it's like after the clip, which is really the reality of it, I really hope people will continue to join us on this journey because I'm learning more than anything else.
Oh yeah, I'm learning so much. I mean, like you said, just being able to play with the different types of breeds and different types of fibers, and it's almost been like a mini breed study for me, which has been really fun. And I'm excited now to start playing with the next batch.
Well, the interesting thing is, which, like everybody has a rabbit hole, right? Like, and I completely geek
Or
out.
four.
Right, yeah. And that, like, honestly, I'll be happy for the people that are with us this evening. Like, I feel like you put me to shame. Like, I have a rabbit hole and it's like what I do. But when I see other people go down rabbit holes and just be so passionate and like so excited about what they do, I'm envious of it, like I'm excited about it, like I'm jealous of it because it's like, I'm so connected to you and I'm like, oh my god, I'm not working hard enough. Like, oh my god, you're up like all hours doing this, doing that. So it's that fine line of where something is your hobby and it's your work, if that makes sense.
Definitely. And that's why another reason why too, we wanted to make sure that we kept it as a fun experience and we weren't making ourselves crazy trying to just get this stuff done so that it was just done. We wanted to have everyone enjoy it with us. And we didn't want to just kind of mash it together and hope for the best and then have it not really turn out the way we wanted.
No, absolutely. And Elizabeth, she said, why does the world end when temperatures are on the 80s?
Because
So
everyone says, hey, can you get here now?
yeah, and my world ends because I'm like, no, I'm one person. And it is, and it's such an unrealistic, uh, I don't, my only answer when people call me is I'm like, my whole herd is not sheared. So if I have animals that are not sheared, you're okay. Like I would never let my children be in danger. So if my children are not done, you're going to be okay. But it's that like I don't know. Like there was one, and we have to move on. I want to hear more about your stuff. There was one year, last year actually, that somebody texted me and she's like, "My sheep are about to perish." Like, I'm not joking. And this was April. This was April. It was mid-April. I was down south shearing. I know exactly where I was. I was in North Carolina. I could tell you the job I was at. And she's feverishly texting me. She's here and she's on Long Island. She was actually in Staten Island. And she's like, my sheep are about to perish. I'm like, well, that's interesting because mine are not, and they're not shorn. And so, like, that's people. So it's the nature of the
Yep.
job. You have to do what you can do, and you just roll with the dices. But anytime the temperature peaks, that is when people start to panic, and all of a sudden they remember that they have animals that need to be shorn. So it's the nature of
Instead
the
of,
beast.
planning ahead and calling you, I'm like, hey, so I'm gonna need this done in the next month or so.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just like I did last year and the year before, and the whole time I've had these animals.
Exactly, exactly. And honestly, I hate to tell you, it's all Long Island because
Of
my
course it is.
my people, my people out of state, they just roll in line. Like they get it. It's all Long Island people. And like we live here, so it's good. And unexpectedly, I'm home this week, but again, dealing with rain. So that was my work all night tonight. I was just texting people and I was like, hey, I'm home. Didn't expect it. Like, you want to fall in line? I'm like working tomorrow. I'm like working Wednesday morning, like just like rain, rain, rain. So, you're just trying to deal with what you can. So,
Yeah.
outside of that, so, all right, we've got scouring done. We talked about that. And now we've got spinning. And then the whole point was comparing your hand spun versus mill spun.
Yeah, so then now with the mill spun, was that like just carded and then pin drafted? How do they do that? Do you know that process for them?
Yeah, so that's all they have, meaning mills that I've worked with in the past will have like a deherring process or anything like that. But so
Okay.
essentially, they scour and then they will do carding, in a larger quantity. And then I believe pin drafting is all they have. So
Okay.
it's very rudimentary in that sense. So, in fact, as a like foreshadowing, I actually sent them like my finest llama batch, which included like Layla, Georgia, that family,
Okay.
Munson, because they don't dehair, and I wanted to see what it turned out like. And I also sent them like my finest batch, which you have Uno, and then Uno was in a previous batch that I sent them. So
Okay.
again, an alpaca batch to just see how they process it based on the fact that they have different mechanics. So I believe pin drafting is all they have. There's definitely no deherring. And is it worsted woolen? I'd have to go back to my notes.
I'm gonna guess probably woolen, just
Okay.
because if it's being carded, then it would probably be more woolen.
It's definitely carded. What would be the other option? Honestly,
Um, I don't know if they do any
No.
type of combing.
Can you comb
Um,
with a machine?
I don't know. I don't think so.
All right. So what's pin drafting?
Um, if
Wait,
I
so if somebody is claiming that they are creating top,
So, like, I did comb top with Juice. Um, so the comb top,
and
it's kind
guys,
of basically
remember,
like
those of you that are with us, that's what this is all about. Like we're all just learning together.
yeah. So and like I
Combed
don't know
top.
anything about the milk process where that
Right,
started.
exactly. Yeah. And so combed top is something that a mill will say, but not deherring. They're all doing scouring. They're all carding because you have to card before you can spin. So it's just about a matter of what they're doing. And I do have to go back and look at that.
Yeah. So like if you were to go out like these I got this weekend, if you were to get a braid of fiber, usually,
Did you like when I wrote no across your
yeah,
post?
I was hoping somebody would.
Because you were like, I think I'm good. I was like, no. But then I felt really bad because I realized I put no across so big that nobody could see what you actually said.
Oh, it was perfect. That was fine. Because I was hoping somebody was gonna back me up and be like, no, you need to go get
I was
more.
like, no, you don't have
And
enough.
leave it to my friendly drug dealer to be like, yeah, no, of course you gotta come back, get some more. But yeah, so the braids, those are usually considered comb top.
Okay.
Uh,
But I'm asking you this. So I feel like when you buy a combed or a comb top or a braid from somebody, they are purchasing it from somewhere else and they're dyeing it to put
yes.
their aesthetic on it, which is amazing. But yes, correct?
And actually that's perfect. I can even use this right now to compare.
And again,
Even
for
just
those
the
of you guys
density.
that are with us, like, please just jump in if you like. Like, honestly, to the most part, I forget that those of you that are here, we're just like having our own conversation and geeking out and just talking about different things. So hopefully you're enjoying it. If you want to jump in and ask a question, please do. Otherwise, you're just along for the ride because that's what this is all about.
Yeah, so even the density of the commercially prepped comb top,
Yeah.
um, which I guess I don't know if that's commercially prepped. I'm not sure how. Now I'm gonna have to look into that more for the next time. But even
Meaning in
just
terms of who you bought from.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll ask Ashley. These are from actually Ashley's, but it's interesting because and this is Rambouillet, I
Rambouillet.
Rambouillet.
Nope.
Do you pronounce the L or do you do it like a Y?
It's Rambouillet.
Rambouillet. Okay. So I know this is Corriedale, this is Rambouillet, so that's a little bit different, but even just the density itself, it seems like this is a lot thicker and a lot more dense, where I would have to do a lot more pre-drafting with this as opposed to this comb top that I did myself. I'm able to just kind of just pull it nice and easy and it goes.
That is supposedly comb top, the Rambouillet.
Yeah, so this they consider it a comb top roving,
Okay.
which the other thing that I've also heard a lot of times is it's not real true comb top roving, that it's more of a carded roving. So I'm definitely gonna have to look into more about the process itself and how that's done, because now I want to know compared
Yeah.
to what I've
Well,
done.
also because you might have comb top, but then there's roving, but then there's slivers, there's pencil roving. So
Oh, I just got some pencil roving too. Or-
did you
So
see him jump? He's like, "Oh, look." So, there's different variations.
yeah,
Oh,
so like this is super, super thin.
yeah.
It's almost the thickness of like a bulky weight yarn,
Ugh,
but that's actually roving.
I can't even imagine. That make ugh,
Yeah,
ugh.
You can knit with that. You can actually
yeah.
knit with it.
So,
Some
and
people call
that's
it unspun.
right, but
Yeah.
here's the thing, and that's a really good point to make, Beth and Jay. So there was, and I'm not calling out Loopy Mango, and there was another company that was pitching that you can knit with roving. But here's the thing: any strands of fiber has to have a slight twist to it in
Right.
order to create some kind of strength. You cannot knit from straight roving, whether it's
No.
pencil,
Yeah.
comb top, whatever. And what I always tell people, if you think about it, right, take your hair and just do this. Like creating like any kind of a twist is just taking your hair and like twirling your good job, Beth.
Like might not wait, hold on.
Do you have a little more in your beard?
Try
So
Yeah, you have to put an S or Z twist into it to get it to do it.
exactly, right? You got the S or your Z. So that's the thing to think about. And again, I back in the day, it must have been it was popular for a hot minute that we had a lot of people calling us because they wanted to knit with roving, and that's just going to tear apart. So something to think about, something to just keep in mind or know.
You
Yeah,
Um,
have to be
exactly.
careful when you do it. You have to be real careful when you do it, but you can knit with it if you add a twist as you're knitting.
Right. And then that's a whole nother dimension, but that's the point. It has to have a slight twist in it. So there can be, a very like loopy, slow twist to a roving, which Lopi yarn, that's what it is. Lopi yarn is, and Lopi sweaters, it is a much thicker yarn with like a slow twist in it. Now, I will also say that I've shared from my earlier learning days when you have a loopy yarn, it better be wool. Don't do that out of llama or alpaca because it will shed more than the animal. So,
Oh yeah.
the greater the twist will coarsen the feel, but will decrease the amount of shedding that you might have. You're going to still have lint no matter what, or pills no matter what. But think about it. The more air that's trapped in there, the slower the twist, the softer it's going to feel, the squishier it's going to feel, but the more it's going to shed or slub. So, you guys have to, that these are all the things that you have to think about. Like, yummy and squishy is not always lovely. That's what I say all the time. So, good points. All right.
Has to have very, very sticky fibers that you're using.
Yeah.
Very sticky wool. You want those high micron counts, not those little bitty tiny ones. You want the high micron because they stick better.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
when I'm teaching people how to spin, I'm like, we need wool, because I call it stick to itiveness. Like, you need wool that is going to
yeah,
grab onto itself, because if you're using a drop spindle, or even if you're using like a regular wheel, like anything like llama or alpaca, while it feels like butter, it's
do
going
not start with it.
it's it's going to get away from you. Now,
Yeah.
mind you, I did start with it because that's what I had, that's what I loved. But in terms of a frustrating factor, yeah, that is, if I'm teaching people how to spin, you start with wool for sure.
Yeah, and like actually perfect example of this Corriedale is that was one thing that I had said to you a couple months ago. It's a very grippy wool because of all that crimp in it. It really holds on to itself. And even only having, I had done a test spin that was so fine, it was literally almost like a fine thread, sewing thread. And it still had its strength. It still had the luster as this tiny, super thin thread. It was really interesting, and it was able to. I didn't have any issues with it breaking, slipping, snapping, nothing. So,
John, I have to ask. So Elizabeth says, does wool equal protein? So
so technically, whether it's like a plant-based or animal-based, it's all considered protein. It's just
yeah,
um, these are considered protein fiber. I forgot the actual type of protein, where it's like an animal protein compared to the cellulose fibers.
yes, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess it's like a animal protein versus a plant protein.
And it's
Um,
funny because when we talk about that, I think nutritionally. So I'm so glad that you can comment about spinning, because I think about protein. There's
like the
difference
meat
whether it's
part.
an animal protein, or if animals eating like hay or grass, it's a cellulose protein. So, but yeah, but it is all protein. So thank you. It's a great question.
Yeah, where I've spun with another type of plant fiber called Rami, and that is very similar to llama, where it is super silky, very long staple.
What is it?
Rami, Ramie.
I'm like,
It's
what?
it's a very interesting one. It's um very, very strong, super durable. It's almost like as strong as silk. It's super strong.
Is it
Um,
synthetic? It has to be.
no, it's a plant fiber.
What
Yeah,
plant?
I don't even know. We had gotten it as a test at the spinning guild. I almost hold on. Let me see if I can look it up quick. No,
I'm like, if you don't know what plant it is, it has to be synthetic.
uh,
And then of
No,
course,
it's
I'm all,
similar to flax.
I'm only gonna make you laugh, because now I'm like, you're cheating on me again.
No, it's a plant. It's a
uh,
plant.
it's from the stems of the plant Bommeria nivea, also known as Chinese nettle. Okay. All right. So it's kind of like the same process as flax, then, like you were saying.
All right, good.
But
Way to
yeah,
go, Beckenji.
it's interesting though the different types of fibers, even just the different types of wool, going from the
Yeah,
Corriedale to the Shetland. The Corriedale was a lot more grippy, where the Shetland was a little bit softer and not as grippy, but still had that crimp, but it wasn't as grippy as the Corriedale.
yeah. And even in the mill spun, and again, that's why, I loved this collaboration. Now, while people only had a chance to experience Nola Nora, again, there's still three girls. It was Nola, Nora, and then there was Juliet. Juliet was the Corriedale. So even this past weekend at the Fleece and Fiber Fair, like having everything set up and being able to squish Juliet and squish Nola, Nora, it's so, I don't know, to me it's so cool, the differences of the breeds, and then how it translates into a yarn, and then hoping to help people about how that's going to translate into the project that you're working with and have a better appreciation for it, all in all. But now, I don't think you had any mill spun in your hands, so not having worked with Shetland, what were your observations? Like, what would you say? Like, what compared to? So, share with us. Okay, I've worked with this kind of wool, and then working with this wool, it was different because.
So far, besides the Rambu, I've worked with Rambouillet, Cormo, Corriedale, Shetland, and I feel like the Shetland was similar to the Rambouillet in um the fineness and the hand and the softness. Um, but it was definitely, I felt easier. It wasn't as grippy, and even the Cormo was kind of a little bit grippy too. I don't know if it, as far as the micron count, if the Cormo's a little bit higher or not, but
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because a
it
Cormo,
is, right?
yeah, because a Cormo is a Corriedale and a Merino blend. So Merino is the highest you can get, and then a Corriedale, so 100% way beyond Shetland.
Yeah. So it was definitely not as slippery as that, but not as grippy as the Corriedale. So it was a nice blend and we're nice in between. And then even carding it was a lot nicer than when I was doing the Corriedale. The Corriedale, because of the grippiness, even carding it, it was almost like extra work. It felt like it
And
was a
so
lot.
wait, I want to correct. So you're comparing Nola and Nora to Juno, which you were doing on your own time, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of which they all came from the same farm.
Yeah. Which I think that it was kind of ironic how I was also on my personal time doing the
Yeah.
Corriedale from the same farm also.
Right.
Um, but yeah, so where was I saying?
And any
Oh,
conversation that you're having when you're talking about Juno, just for anybody who's with us, that would be the same as Juliet. So Juno and Juliet are Corriedales, and that's one fleece, and then Nola and Nora are Shetlands. They're all from the same farm. So for anybody who maybe has purchased stuff, we have Juliet in her natural color, which is naturally colored white, and then I also have Juliet that was dyed in the deep pink. Meanwhile, we had Nola and Nora, which combined together, the I always forget. Nola was white, Nora was tan, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So combined together, they just created like this beautiful, like kind of sand color is the best way that I can describe it. And we did not, or I did not dye any of those. So those are the things that we're using as comparison. If you happen to be on the site, or if you happen to buy any of them for the yarn that we did for the Life and Rainbows knit along, some of you are part of that. So our EVB collection, Nola and Nora were a huge feature. So that was like kind of cool and kind of like really what sprung this collection, because I did a yarn, Nola and Nora, and they were the base of like a cowl that we did. And it just, I don't know, like people just really were driven to them. And when I feel the yarn, it just has like a springiness that was like,
Yes.
I don't know, like so super cool and interesting, because I also never worked with the Shetland before. So I was like super surprised and super happy about the way it came out.
Yeah, it actually, even just like pulling one lock, one staple, it would go from like about like 3.5 to 4 inches out to almost 5, 6 inches. So
Yeah.
just that squishiness, that bounce that was in there. And then being that it was carded, so all the fibers are all different directions, that's how you really get all that squishy, nice, super lofty yarn from it. And I also thought it was interesting that even though I was doing this hand processed and kind of just doing my own math, I had ended up doing a 60%, 40% blend of 60% Nola, 40% Nora. because Nola was just a bigger, heftier girl. She had a little bit more wool on her, so we ended up with a little more white, which somehow it ended up being almost identical to the mill spun.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they had like the same type of thing where they had to do like a certain mixed percentage like that and figure that out, or
I'd have to go back and look at my records because obviously, so and that's the difference too. Like again, for the small group that's with us, what is so cool is to understand when you're mill spinning, right? Like it's a financial equation. They have to have so many pounds for you to be able to make it like financially feasible. They might have a minimum, they might have a maximum. So I just got all these fleeces together when I went to them and then kind of like piece things together. So at the same time, when you're hand spinning, that's why I usually will like procure baby fleeces, unusual colors, because you can do things at a smaller ration. So the answer is
yeah,
I don't remember, and I will have to go look at my notes because what I do though is I keep track of everything that I send to the mill versus what I'm working with you because I always love that transparency. But this particular mill that I'm working with is newer. So, like my previous mill, I would always have to do 20 pounds. This mill is not. I almost think they're like it's like 5 pounds and that's it and there's not,
oh, okay,
I'm always looking for price breaks. So if you tell me there's a price break at 5 pounds, 20 pounds, I'm like gonna meet whatever that is. So
yeah, yeah, try and push for the bigger one.
exactly, yeah. So I don't remember, but I just remember that I had all these fleeces together because we had some other local fleeces. So I don't know, I mean it would
Thanks
be
for joining me.
so it'll be interesting to see like what they said or what they did because I honestly don't remember. But
Yeah, that'd be neat.
all in all, I think you're always going to get a softer yarn from a hand spun versus a mill spun. And that's just the nature of the beast. And I think that that's the beauty of what we tried to share, in this last collaboration was like literally the exact same things, mill spun and hand spun. And again, if I could say it was completely handcrafted from the beginning, like that was the idea from the beginning, it was not. Like, so I always think that's what's so cool is like all of this just like somehow or other, yeah,
Came together. Yeah.
just like organic.
Even the extras that you got added in, like the beeswax candle that was made by the same family from the same farm.
And then the fact that like again as we talked about it, so we had like commercial spun, we had hand spun, and then we had mill spun. And if you don't know that all those are different, like now you do because they
Yeah,
are. Commercial spun is like so heavily processed, so perfect, which is not a bad thing, but that's what it is. And then you have mill spun, which is kind of like in between, and then you have hand spun, which is the most organic and the most beautiful that you can absolutely imagine. So in this collaboration, we have all three, not to mention, like people tied in one way or another, and then the candle, as well, of which the husband, who has nothing to do with the favorite animals, he's the beekeeper, and they are. And again, it's not I hate that I always caution to put this point, but I understand that some people are sensitive, some people are not. Nothing is about religion, but like I never knew there was a Moravian religion.
me neither. And
Like,
actually, until this collab, I had no idea, and it actually had me kind of looking into just to learn about it and see what it was. Had no idea.
and I am sympathetic if that's sensitive for somebody, but I don't think it's about that. I think it's about exploration and I think it's about learning, and for me that's what it's always been about. So I never even knew that was a thing. And then through this, and then through my community, I have actually somebody else that's in Ohio. And for our small group that's here, you know Ruth Ann. And then Ruth Ann's like, I'm Moravian. And I'm like, I didn't know all this. So, I again, I know people are sensitive in different ways, but I just want this always to be about learning and exploration. So the candle, yes, while it has significance to their religion, the husband is the beekeeper, so he's harvesting the honey. Jan is making the candles, and then the foil that's around it is definitely significant, to their religion. But it's just, again, like something that's, it's a maker, like, right, we're all makers, and
Hmm.
that's what it all comes back to. And for me, I've just appreciated the journey of like learning new things. Like, literally, if you can understand this, if you buy a home in this area, maybe other areas, and if this is your religion, they actually have an electrical circuit that is like a Moravian thing, because they love to have candles in every window of their home. Now, interestingly enough, in my area, or at least friends that I know, or at my best friend in Lancaster, they just like to have candles in their window.
Hmm.
But for them, it's a thing, and there's actually like an electrical circuit that's created so that you can make sure that all your candles in your windows are, like, I don't know, lit. So I, it's just the weird little,
Interesting.
yeah. So it's just the weird little things that I love as I learn, and as I meet people, and as I talk to people. So I
And
hope.
it's interesting you say that too, because nobody knows this, but my father is an architect and does different types of architectural drafting. He also has moved more into doing drafting of like HVAC and electrical systems and plumbing for different types of commercial buildings. So now I'm gonna ask him if he's ever done anything for anybody Moravian where he's had to build
No,
a separate circuit.
it is literally like, that's what they told me. Like, there's literally like an option
That's interesting. Yeah.
when you buy certain homes, there's an option to have this kind of circuit, so that in all of your windows, there's, an ability to have like a candle lit or something like that. So
I
I
mean, that's also appealing to anybody who likes to decorate for all the seasons and wants to have decorations up too. That,
like, I'm on Zoom, and I literally just ran around my house, and I literally just lit three candles, and they're burning in my house, and I'm not even there. Like, I just love, for me, I just love that ambiance, and I love
yeah.
the fragrance. So if you haven't checked out our new like spring candle, make sure you do. It's called Mary's Lamb. But the thing is, for me, as I love the ambiance, I love the fragrance. So again, it's not religious, but like, what I just love is like everything that I do, and all of this is cool. Like you just said about being an architect, and then that makes me think about my friend Mike that I shear for. He has that big llama farm in East Bend, North Carolina. He's an architect, so his whole farm slash home was designed
By
around
him.
like what his interest is. And
That's awesome.
you walk out his kitchen, you walk into the barn, and the animals are right there. You
That's
look
so
out
cool.
the living room, and you can see the vineyards, and all of that. So like, I just, you don't think about how all of these things like intertwine, but that's what he does for a living.
That's awesome.
So, I mean, look, I know, and I'm just checking in on the chat. We're always over because that's what we do. And
Buy the candles. Candles are great. Buy the candles.
Oh,
candles,
the new one?
always, like, I feel like that's the cool thing, is like, it doesn't have to be spiritual, right? Like, candles symbolize so many different things, like for so many different people. And for me, I love the fragrance, I love the ambiance, like, I love the symbolism. But no, I think it's neat. And so again, this particular collaboration, they're kind of squished at the moment, but you can see the red foil, and then you can see the candle. So that's the handmade beeswax candle that Jan does. And then the foil is significant, of the Moravian. But that all aside, um, these are still the kits that John and I did. And regardless, we still have two left. If anybody wants to grab another one, extra one, either way, we're going to take a break for this month, and then we're going to circle back and hopefully come back nice and strong for July. But we will let you guys know. And I can't thank you enough for being a part of this, for however small our group was this evening. I know, Deborah. I have to tell you, I'm going to give you a shout out because, like, you're always with me on text, and I love it and I appreciate it. I know you're muted, you can unmute yourself, but like, the people that keep in touch with me every day and keep me going every day is so appreciative, more than you guys know. And
I love
I
it
thank
too.
you.
And Larry always says, "Have you heard from Tabitha today?" So, see, you're part of the family now.
I love it. I love it. Well, if you don't hear from me, then you and him can, like, make sure you reach out and let me know for sure. But
And I'm sure a lot of people don't really think too much about it when you're out doing your thing, but when you're out cheering, for the most part, you are by yourself on the road, just doing this. And
always by myself.
exactly, I mean, I don't think I've ever seen you have anybody with you. So for your own mental sanity, I'm sure it helps to have everyone checking in and just sending you messages, whether you can respond right away or not. It just hearing it go off and seeing your phone go off, I'm sure it kind of just gives you that extra little like reminder that hey, we care, we love you. Oh boy, are we gonna start crying now? We're gonna end with the cry.
Oh my God, I hate you for that. But I'll leave it, and it's on record because I told you to remind me to record this and I forgot at the beginning, but then I remembered midway. But look, absolutely, like, I am on my own. And when
It's
I'm
a lot, and you got long days. I mean, here I am, I'm home doing all my stuff, but I got my animals, I've got my husband, like I've got my family. You're out on the road by yourself. I mean, you've got the people that you're doing stuff for, but it's not
except
the
now
same.
people think that you're my husband.
Oh God, so that's a quick funny story. So we're at the festival yesterday, and I guess because we went and talked and we hugged each other, I guess everyone thought that we're married now. So now the vendors are saying, "Oh yeah, John and his wife Tabitha." Like, oh, okay.
So he was texting me that today. I was like, all right, well, like, you could be my gay husband. And then, you know what he said? For those of you that are with me, he's like, I have lots of gay ones. I was like, really?
Between
I
my
was like,
work
well, that's
wives, my
fine.
friends' wives.
I was like, well, I'm not going to be last on the list. But then what did you say?
I said, well, technically, I guess I was treating on all of them with you, but you're my drug dealer because you get me all my fleeces. So it's a different kind of relationship.
All of that sounds toxic to me. Basically, like, he's cheating on all of them with me, and then, like, I'm his drug dealer. So anyway, it was so funny. And I didn't intend to bring that up, but it really made me laugh. So, so thank you for that. But honestly, yeah, like, and I told John when I saw him on Sunday, I was like, I'm just like really tired. And when I'm tired, I cry all the time. And I'm just tired because this is what I do 24/7. So it is the truth. Like, anybody, like, even just the few people that are with us this evening, seeing you here and hearing your voices means everything to me. And when I'm on the road, do not ever, you know what I think sometimes? I think we all underestimate the power of, like, what we can do for each other. So, but, like, we all think like we don't matter. You're doing that as a joke.
No, I'm not. I really am not.
But, like, everything, like, people that text me, like, it means so
Every little
much.
bit.
It does. And because I'm driving, I'm on the road, I'm like alone, and I don't mind it and I love it. But I'm tired. And when I hear from people and when I get to like send pictures or do posts, that's why stories are so easy for me, which is like horrible because I should do posts, but like stories are so quick and fast. So just know that every little thing just makes a difference. And I appreciate I can't do it.
And again, this is why we wanted to really make sure that we were both fully enjoying this because we didn't want it to be anything less than what we set out for this to be.
Because I'm
We're
just a
so
hot
thankful.
mess. Oh
Hey,
my God. And can I just tell you, I love this guy so much. So this has just been like a really, truly like genuine collaboration and excited to continue. I can't stop. And I'm still gonna record this and it's still gonna be posted and people can watch because that's what this is. Neither of us are making money and we just enjoy sharing. That's all I got.
and I love you too, and I appreciate it. And we love all of you guys. We're really thankful for everything and for everyone and all the support and just joining in with us and joining in on the ride and learning with us because that's what it's all about. It's all about learning and sharing and just educating everyone and hoping that everybody enjoys it
We're
as much as we
complete
are.
dorks because that's the thing. Like I've really learned, like if I thought I was cool, like I'm really just a dork. And the more I like talk about like fiber and this and that, like I just completely geek out. But it's really fun for people that want to like listen to it and join in on it. But yeah, like we're just dorks.
And the next batch is going to be on my new spinning wheel.
Oh my God. Okay. You are such a dork. I was just going to say, if anybody did not see his post of like when he was going to get, wait, it's a girl, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So if anybody did not see his post about when he was going to get his new girl, you have to like circle back and watch it because he was so cute. He was like so excited to go get like his new girl. That's like his official spinning wheel versus what he was using from the guild.
Now I guess am I cheating on you with that?
Maybe I didn't think about that, but now that you put that out there. So, oh my God, it's awesome. I'm like my girl, meanwhile, like I have to like dust her off. I feel bad. So, but you have a single treadle, a double treadle. I'm a double treadle girl. Oh,
So it's funny because the Ashford Kiwi was a double treadle, and I started with this one, and it's this one's single treadle. And
yeah.
at first, I only had the one foot on it, and my other foot just started going, and I didn't know why it was going, but it was going. So I just started putting two on it together and
Yeah,
moved it at the
single
same
treadle is
time.
definitely harder to learn. I mean, double treadle is easier, but at the same time, when I teach people on a double treadle, I would always say this is not the Tour de France. Like,
Yes,
it's not about how fast your feet can
slow
go.
down.
But here's the thing, it's like patting your head and rubbing your stomach. Your
Yes.
feet have to match your hands. And your feet go really fast, but your hands can't go fast. And then like as you try to like get your hands to match your feet, like it literally is like combining those two things together. So for anybody who's ever tried to spin on a wheel, it's a challenge for sure.
And
But
then throw
definitely
background noise and stuff in it to mess with your rhythm and your beat and
well,
all.
here's the thing I'm going to give you all day long. You are definitely way more mathematical. I'm more methodical. I'm just like, I'm going to spin and I'm going to have my own little song in my head and I'm just going to do what the yarn says. You're like, no, you are going to have this many revolutions. Like, at least I feel like that.
And it's fun. I try to have a little bit of that just because I want it to be able to be enough uniformity where any of the people buying it could take it and still follow a pattern with that average weight and not have it be totally all over. Because although sometimes the thick and thin is fun, but that's more of an art yarn and not too many people are really looking for that. I have actually crocheted with some of my first hand spuns that I've done where that had a lot more variation and it was a different look. It looked a lot more organic, but it also wasn't as, I guess, the way that I wanted the piece to look at the end because of the different variation. Certain parts were very thin, other parts were super thick, and for the actual garment itself, it wasn't what I wanted. So I did try to keep it a little more uniform, but I definitely had more fun with this batch than I did with the baby llamas. I feel like with the baby llama fleeces, I was definitely trying to focus a little more because it was so slippery in the beginning, and I was trying to get that real sweet spot.
Yeah.
But
They're definitely more like butter, right? Like it just,
yes,
but here's the thing, and I will give you grace that hopefully you will receive moving forward. That's the beauty of handspun. Like we want people to understand how it's different from mill spun, and it's not perfect. And there's going to be those fluctuations, and that's okay. Like
hmm,
that's, what we want them to see. But there's definitely a difference between baby llama, which is like, shoo, just gonna like get out of your hands. That's where I tell people if you're using a drop spindle, it's like, ooh, it's gonna drop. And you just have to like work with it, versus if you're on a wheel, you definitely have to have a lower tension because the grip, or actually,
the lack of grip.
yeah, the lack of grip. Yeah, I was just gonna say, versus when you're dealing with something that is like, and then you need to adjust accordingly. So it's, again, people might not ever hand spin, but if you can understand the appreciation and then understand the collaboration that we put together, that's what it's all about. So that's all I
I
got.
could keep talking.
I can too. I know. I don't
I'm
look at
like,
the
I'm already thinking, I'm like, I could start talking about comparing the scales and human hair follicles and
Exactly, exactly. And that's the thing. Like I'm looking at the time, I'm like, oh my God, the good news is I started recording late because you were supposed to help remind me and I forgot. But midway or not that far into it, I made sure I remembered to like hit record. So there's at least a good portion of this that we can share with people that were not with us. And I see Deborah like
yeah,
comment,
exactly.
and which is wonderful. So, again, for those of you, if you're on, we've got, just 2 kits left. If not, the whole point is that this is why we're doing it, to educate people and to just bring awareness and to share joy. And that's really all that it's about. So, with that said, there will be a lapse. We will not have a June drop. And then hopefully I'll chat with John, but he's got the fleeces. I will say, as a foreshadowing for those of you that are with us, then, as I should say, so because I don't think we did, even though I mentioned maybe some names. So the fleeces that I gave him, it's actually pretty cool. They are alpacas that live at New Bolton Veterinary Center. So they're actually educational alpacas. They're not going through any sort of, sorry,
Bless you.
they're not going, it sounds like if they live there that they're like subjected to like medical things. They live the cushiest life, but they are there to teach the veterinary students about how to work with alpacas. And so I can't remember which one. It was either Golden Rule or Slim Jim that had their neck sheared because somebody drew blood. But they just live this cushy life. There's 2 sheep that I shear along with them. And actually, I did think about keeping one of the sheep fleeces, and I was like, all right, no, 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 no. Because usually a lot of sheep I share are just like mixes. And the one sheep, actually, there were 3, sorry. So there's, it might even be Thelma and Louise, and I can't remember the male that I
That's
shear. I
great.
can't remember his name. He actually had a very like Corriedale kind of fleece, and I was gonna save it, but it was wet, and then I was just like, meh. But Golden Rule is the one alpaca, and then there's Uno, and then there's Slim Jim. And Golden Rule and Uno are the same color. Golden Rule now is a lot older. I've been sharing him for years, and then Uno and Slim Jim were just introduced last year, if my memory serves me correct, but I can go back and look at my notes. So, I mean, again, the whole part of this is that like everything that we do has a story, and the animals hopefully have a story. And so, what better story than these are animals that were adopted purchased. I have no idea. It's not my business, but they are part of a veterinary teaching program and they're just there and they're actually super cool. So that's those are the fleeces that I dumped off to John on Sunday when I saw him, and potentially the goal, whether or not he's just going to use the two colors. And we talked about a barber pole versus the fractile spinning, which he did for the first collab, which had the three colors. That's all up to him, and you guys will have to stay tuned for that. But I hope to do my part to build the story about the animals and about the role that they play for veterinary students, to learn about alpacas, which is obviously so important for sure.
And it's cool that not only is this my first time working with alpaca, besides I think it was the Surrey alpaca roving that you had.
Oh, the black, that's the dehair that I gave
No,
you. Yeah.
before that, I had gotten you had or maybe it wasn't Surrey, maybe it was just alpaca roving.
What
One of my
color?
first hand spun hats that I made, it had the llama merino roving, then I thought it was like a dark brown alpaca.
Okay.
Um, but other than that, I've never processed it, so I've only spun a little bit with it. But even
Cool.
that was the Surrey, so I'm really excited to do that.
Yeah, there's definitely, so like Surrey, and even from the baby llama. So the baby llama that you worked with was more considered silky. And then if you work with Surrey, that's different in itself. So
Mhm.
the alpaca that I've given you is also different, totally different. It's very lofty. So completely different, like staple length, loft factor, but yet softness factor. So it will be interesting to to see what you feel about that. So, and
Yeah,
Deborah
like just for
talent.
the few that are with us,
Yeah,
my first impression, almost, if you want to call it that, when I picked it up, it was almost like a mix of the llama and the wool, where it
yeah,
had the shorter staple length, a little bit of the crimp or wave to it, but it had that softness and that silkiness almost of the baby llama, where it was a lot finer and
yeah. And when
luxurious.
people come to the farm and they see the Wakai alpaca versus the llamas, I don't like to call it wool or like wool, but llama and alpaca have the same properties. They're hypoallergenic, they're warmer, they're stronger. However, they both lack memory, which is what sheep wool brings to the mix. But with that said, llama is more hair-like and is going to be drapier, and alpaca is definitely more sheep-like or wool-like and is going to have loft. It's not
Mhm.
that it has spring factor, but it definitely has loft. That's how I describe it.
And now the alpaca is also a hollow core fiber too, right?
Yes, yeah. So that's the thing. It's like when you look at Cusco, right? He's like, he looks like he just sprung wool, and he looks like he would be a sheep, meaning in terms of the loft and the fact that it like
Hmm.
stands up on its own is the way I would describe it. But it is still a hollow cord fiber. It's still hypoallergenic, so it still has the same properties as llama, but it has loft to it. It doesn't have memory.
Yeah, this will be interesting.
Yeah, cool. All right. Well,
Awesome.
that's all I got. And I appreciate you still hanging in with me for whatever time we're on here because I know you
Oh,
enjoy it.
geez.
I enjoy it. And for however small our group is, I did remember to record it about a halfway in. And so we'll make sure that we post it. Priscilla and Deborah and Beth and G and Elizabeth, thank you. Again, it's not
Thanks,
about
guys.
what's that?
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Oh my God, absolutely. And again, that doesn't take away from those that are not with us, but those of you that are with us, um, it means a lot. And I thank you. And I know John thanks you. So appreciate you always giving us feedback, and always know how to reach both of us, and drop us some DMs. Let us know what your thoughts are, your interests are, and we'll keep you posted, of course, like as we move through this next collaboration and into July, and as I continue to share, and we'll go from there. So,
Can I ask for something?
of course.
Can you send us a page that describes the differences between the mill spun, the um, the hand spun, the mill spun, the commercial spun, and everything that you were talking about? Because it's not in our information that you gave us.
Okay. I mean, I will definitely make a note about that, and I will definitely look
So
to.
yeah, we could circle back with that.
Yeah, so I appreciate that for sure. Because again, that was part of what we wanted to get across. And also, of course, I've got Jill helping me to put all of it together. But absolutely, absolutely.
Because that would be nice to stick with our information that we got with this package. An
Yeah, that's a
extra
great
little
idea. I didn't
page.
even think about that.
No, and what I love is that you value wanting to have the information. I mean, that's what this is all
Yeah,
about.
we
You
appreciate it
know?
because we're also learning too, like we said. So that's a great idea.
And that's the thing, like, you know, again, like all this, like this little kit, you know, yes, can you make something from it? But part of it is just understanding and appreciating the beauty of the various pieces that are in the kit. And like you said, learning from it. And you're paying for that, which I appreciate. But it means a lot to me that you value that. So absolutely, Beth and G, we'll get that for you.
Thanks.
Absolutely. Cool. All right, guys. So thank you.
Good
Stay
night.
tuned with me. I am unexpectedly going to be probably home most of the week. I've got shearing set up for tomorrow. Rain is the nature of our beast around here. So I'm kind of working around that. But both John and I will continue to like post and tag. And so stay in touch. And that's all I got. All right. Mwah.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Everybody, have a great night. Much love and look for you on the other side.
See you
Bye,
soon.
Beth.